Right. 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 It is good, I appreciate that to keep perspective. Yeah, it's time. Just
Where do we have you?
lucky you. That's so fun. I can't wait.
The best thing ever.
Good. How are you?
Good.
That's you.
We're still standing, and we're doing the things
Yes,
that
I
we
haven't
have to
done.
do.
I am done.
And it's a
I
beautiful
am
day.
so
It is a
busy.
beautiful day.
Right?
Bring about it's
Beautiful day in the neighborhood.
like day-to-day work. It was all the heads.
Now, Joe, where do you
Yeah.
live?
No, I'm done.
Boss,
I'm
Beacon
done.
Hill.
Beacon Hill. Okay, so this is a little jaunt, but not like.
You know,
And I'm like,
it's not
it's
great.
like,
I probably could have walked here
weird because I was
Got to hear faster
faster than driving. Yeah.
and you have to. It's a switch. It's like you have to.
Driving to West
yourself to
Roxbury,
spend
there's
money.
no direct.
Yeah.
And to just,
It's just truly challenging.
and it's fine. It's for some reason you spend less money.
If we could have everyone take their seat, we're going to begin in just a moment. Jay, if you wouldn't mind opening up the... I love using the gavel. I just want to make an administrative note. Also, if anyone would like to sign up for public comment, please do so. There is a clipboard in the back on the display piece. Please just sign your name up there, and we will take you in the order that we are received, as well as our online. This is being streamed via Zoom as well, so we will take into consideration and do half here, half on Zoom in a timely manner.
Pamela, how do we, I can't find the agenda on my computer. I'm sorry.
Does everyone else have the screen?
No.
Okay, I'll help you, just give me one
Thank you.
second. Files, and then this,
Oh, USB drive, okay, great, thank
that's
you.
the PowerPoint.
Yeah, okay.
Is yours not even on?
Thank you.
Like, give it a second.
That's embarrassing.
And
No, no,
Christian
okay.
needs help turning on this computer, just for the record.
We're grateful.
Yeah.
Which button is it?
Yeah, hold on, I got it.
Okay, I got it.
Just got to give it a second to load up. Pause, please. There is lovely snacks in the back of the room provided by the Friends in the branch, if anyone would like.
Thank
please
you for
help
those, by
yourself.
the way.
Thank you.
Thank you all
Friends,
for the
friends,
snacks and
appreciate you.
food.
Is this in your district? That's what I go on.
They take freely. This is why I do them.
It's okay, I can also.
No, 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 hold on, I got it.
Fun? Yeah, I bet.
And then we go to files.
Where's my presentation?
We have so many good memories.
And then you can figure out the size,
Oh,
right?
fantastic.
Stuff is in the way.
Thank you.
Oh, it's fine. It's, yeah, it's fine. It's fine, but don't trip on it.
Jim, can I take this one? Yours is loaded up.
Yeah,
If you don't mind.
absolutely, because I can just use mine. Is that all right?
Yep. I thought that. I said Jim usually brings his own.
That's very sweet.
You're welcome to do the stuff if you want to.
Oh, you want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right, good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? I tend to be loud, so. All right, so I always have the shameless plug. So I'm going to tell all the trustees because I just like to boast. So this is my longest drive from the BPL golf tournament. Take a look. Take a look, all of you. Say, thank you, thank you. So I just want to say, Jane's not here, but the BPL, they have a team. They want to make it fun for employees. It's open to everyone, and they invited trustees, and I participated, and I want to thank for them to extend the invitation, and I'm sorry I took a trophy.
Never apologize.
So it was a great fun, and I want to say thank you, and I want to say thank you everybody who's here. Really appreciate it. We have Sheila, thank you so much, branch librarian, and we have Bob from the Friends, and Bob and I have exchanged emails in the past. And I also want to thank for the book sale. I was here, and my niece's children has benefited out of the children's books. I did get like a, I don't know, I think it was 20 pounds worth of books that I got for my sister's children. And I want to welcome my sister who's visiting here from Raleigh, North Carolina. You know, my sister, thank you. So with further ado, want to start the meeting. Short agenda today, so I want to start with the opening statement. The trustees of the Boston Public Library reaffirm our commitment to racial equity and to principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion more broadly. The library is formally committed to becoming an anti-racist organization in response to systemic racism, inequity, and injustice prevalent in our society. We acknowledge also that the Boston Public Library Central Library stands on land that was once a water-based ecosystem providing sustenance for the indigenous Massachusetts people, and it's a place which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange among nations. We are committed to land acknowledgements for all locations at which we operate. We reaffirm this commitment to set the context of our planning, deliberations, and public engagement so they take place from the spirit of welcome, respect, found in our motto, free to all. With that, I want to start with the roll call, Pamela.
Yep, I'll say your last names. Arana,
Here.
Ball, Berman,
Here?
Canales,
Here.
Cronin.
Here.
Tyler will be absent today. He is traveling for work. Hawkins will be joining us shortly. He is just stuck in traffic. I will acknowledge him for the record when he arrives. Kim,
Here.
she is joining us virtually. I just want to note that for the record. Levine is also unable to attend. He may possibly join us later today. Dr. Liu is in Singapore and is unfortunately not able to join us as well. Maso,
Here?
Oleula is unable to attend today as well. Rush,
Here.
Westra,
Here.
and Wooten is unable to attend as well.
All right.
We have a quorum.
We do have a quorum.
Yes.
All right. Next on the agenda, minutes for the September 30th meeting. Can I please get a motion? You all receive a copy of those meetings.
Move to approve?
Second?
Second.
All approved? Aye. Any abstentions? Any nays? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, President report.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, and just to welcome all of our trustees to the West Roxbury branch of the Boston Public Library. We're very pleased that our tradition of having one or two of our branch meetings of our trustee meetings in branches is something that the current trustees have recommitted to, and so we're really happy to be here in West Roxbury. And so I will just invite the great West Roxbury branch librarian, Sheila Scott, to offer words of welcome and a few words about the branch.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the West Roxbury branch of the Boston Public Library. Thank you. We are delighted to have you here today. I don't think you've been here in years and years, so it's wonderful to have you here today. Just wanted to give a few facts about the library and introduce you to Bob. Our library has been at this location since 1922. In 1989, we had a major addition, which includes our second floor, our children's room, the gallery you see, and the lecture hall here. Demographically, we have the largest group of city workers in this area and the largest percentage of seniors. And due to that, we have the first and so far only age-strong librarian in the system who has been here just over a year. So that's an important piece to West Roxbury. We are sadly now only the second largest building. The Shaw Roxbury branch, since it opened, is the largest, and we are larger by 1 square foot than the Hyde Park branch.
Not that we're keeping score.
Not that we're keeping score.
Okay.
We were always tops in circulation, but once you redid the Jamaica Plain branch, that was the end of that. So we are always in the top 3, and I will introduce them in a moment, but our Friends group is also the best in the system. So things that are different from some of the other branches, we have a local historical society in the building. We have a beautiful gallery. Rob McIntosh is our current exhibit. I hope you get a chance to check that out on your way out or around the library. We have a beautiful reading garden out back. It features a horse trough, which is now a non-working fountain dedicated to Mary Draper, who was a Revolutionary War heroine in this area. The garden itself was created with help from the Brown Fund, the city's Brown Fund, and the land for it was donated by the Congregational Church. And if you go outside, you'll see in the far back the stone from the church. The Evening Garden Club of West Roxbury helps to maintain the space and is very involved in the beautifications of the grounds generally. They do so much work. Along with special partnerships with the West Roxbury Evening Garden Club and the West Roxbury Historical Society, I must mention one of the most important partnerships the branch has is with the Friends of the West Roxbury Branch Library. We have the best and largest Friends group in the branches, and this group works tirelessly with book sales and other fundraisers to supplement the library's programming and resources, from children's music programs and puppet shows to hosting an annual poetry contest and famous authors. I won't duplicate what Bob's going to say, but Michael Pollan, Tracy Kidder, a whole bunch of people. Most recently, Bill McKibben. This group has helped support our branch for 50 years. Here's Bob Godet. He is one of our organization's co-chairs, and he'll tell you more.
Thank you, Sheila. Sheila was here, as reflect, my kids are adults now, and we first had the children. She was the children's librarian here many decades ago. Glad to have her. She's a great head librarian. My name is Bob Godet. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Friends Group, and I welcome you to the library. Now, our Friends Group is over 50 years old. We had our 50th celebration last year formally, and it was founded by Alice Hennessy, who some of you may know. She was a legend at City Hall for decades and decades. If you wanted something done, Alice could fix it. I say if she were around today, she could fix a lot of the world's problems because she just got things done. She founded the group with a couple of friends. The idea was to bring the community and library closer together, and I think, looking back, she succeeded admirably. Now, we provide funding for a lot of library programs. We have our own presentations, generally involving authors, and we support a lot of children's programming. We have a lot of summer programs now. The city's changes over the time, but we're pretty consistent about coming up with funding for whatever the children's librarian decides makes sense for the summer, and we also help out during the year. We're a membership-based organization. We try to get folks in to sign up. We had a function last night. There were 3 people outside dragooning patrons as they came in to sign up, and they got a lot of people to sign up, so very good. They did a great job. Now, our book sales, the main thing we depend on for money are 3 book sales we have, and Annie's back there. She's the head of the book sale organization and does a great job. That is our biggest volunteer operation. We have dozens and dozens of people who work on that every 3 months, 4 months. It's great. Now, over the years, we've had the honor and privilege of having a lot of fairly serious authors here. We had Michael Pollan, noted food critic. We had Jill Lepore from Harvard history professor who's written a lot of things. Dennis Lehane was here twice. First time he was here, we signed him up when no one knew who he was. A few months later, people knew who he was. We probably had 200 people in this room, and Sheila was a little upset that the fire department would come over and shut us down, but that didn't happen. We've had Lois Lowry, who wrote The Giver. She was here a few years ago. We had, recently we've had E.J. Dionne, who was a Washington Post columnist and author, and Tracy Kidder, who's a Pulitzer Prize winner, and they're over at the Linden School, which we use for our major events. It's really fortunate it's there. It's got a great auditorium. They've been great partners for everything. So that it really helps out. Fall this year has been nuts. We started off with Lisa Scodolini, who's a noted mystery author, in early October. She, again, over at the Linden, talked about what it's like to be a mystery author, successful author, how to get started, how to write. And Maureen Corrigan, who's the NPR book critic, she was interviewing her at the auditorium. It was a really nice setup. Afterwards, Lisa came down and answered questions, working in the audience and doing some stand-up comic stuff, things. She was very good. A few weeks later, we had Bill McKibben. He is the solar and wind environmentalist who's very well known now. Basically, he has a new book out, Here Comes the Sun, which sold a lot of copies over there, and he spoke about that. He wisely did not follow my suggestion that he sing the Beatles' most popular song, Here Comes the Sun, as part of his presentation. So I guess I'm thankful for that. Anyway, last Monday, we shifted gears a bit. Dara Slagle heads the local food pantry, Rose's Bounty, and we had a food insecurity, presentation. She was accompanied by a guy from, a man from the VA, Bill Delaney, who's a former, can't say former Marine, my father was a Marine. There's no such thing as a former Marine, a Marine veteran who works with the VA now and works with veterans who need help. And she talked about general food insecurity issues, which are huge these days. And he let us know that it's even tougher for a lot of veterans because they have other issues going on that are triggered by that. So instead of having a spread of food, as we often do, we had people bring food, and we had over 30 bags of food for people for Rose's Bounty. So that was a really good event. Last night, we had our annual Meet, Greet, and Eat event, which is exactly what it sounds like. We just have people come to the library, mingle, learn about the friends, mostly eat. It's free food, and I think that's why so many people show up. But we also got a lot of new members. That's really the reason we have it. We're going to be at the Holiday Market in a couple of weeks that West Roxbury Main Street has. Our final event, I think, of the fall will be, there's a piano over there, a piano recital, a winter piano recital. We got that, I don't know, a year ago, I guess. And it's really turning into a nice thing to have because you can build programming around it, which we're just starting to get into. Spring's going to be busy. We have several authors lined up. And the biggest thing we have in the spring is the poetry contest. Sheila mentioned it. It is incredibly popular. It's huge. The event probably at every grade level gets judged and awarded. And the award ceremony is the nicest thing we do. It's just really, really great. And if anyone's in the area, just show up because you have a big smile on your face. You cannot believe how good the poems are, especially from the kids. It's a really fun night. That's it. Thank you for visiting us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that's great.
Before you go on, can I just acknowledge that Jeff Hawkins has joined, as well as Najee Bauer is joining us virtually?
Yep. I just want to say that I do volunteer at Rosa's Bounty, and the number of people who have been coming to the pantry just keeps increasing every time. So it is a huge, it's growing problem about food insecurity. So thank you for hosting them. They do a great job, and it is a lot of work that what they put together is quite a production.
Any questions for Sheila or Bob before I continue?
I just want to say, I'm impressed of how you really made use of this third space. I mean, and using the school as one of your partners, which sort of like shows that we're not isolated and working in the silo thinking we're it, that there are others that we can partner with and expand and amplify what we do. So I congratulate you having that kind of thinking and mindset of being inclusive, if you will. That was nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you able to be open on the weekends, like pretty much a full not 24/7, but full 7-day schedule? Or?
We're open Saturdays, 9 to 5, but none of the branches
Okay.
are open on Sundays,
Okay.
just coffee.
Okay, and into the evenings during the week?
We are open Mondays, 12 until 8.
Okay. Do you, is there sort of the usage, you talked about how this tends to be an older neighborhood than some of the other ones. Do you have a sense for how the users break down by age group? I think you or Bob mentioned something about children being obviously, they're traditionally heavy users of libraries, but teens and young adults, things like that?
Our teen use is lower. We tend to have a lot of younger children. The school is next door, so we get there are several schools pretty close. So we do get a huge after-school crowd, lots of tweens, and lots of seniors earlier in the day. And we have probably the largest book discussion in the system. We have gotten up to 70 people for book discussion on the morning one, and they are mostly retired people between 65 and 90.
Wow.
So we have, our seniors are are into very book-related programming and make good use of the branch.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? No? All right, carry
Yeah.
on.
Thank you both for joining us and telling us more about your experience of leading the branch and the Friends group.
Thank you.
So to continue for the trustees, I have a few slides to talk about some highlights of our work system-wide since the last time we were together. So I want to start by referencing the Revolutionary Art exhibition that is open through April at the Central Library in the McKim Exhibition Hall. Early numbers were just touching 20,000 visitors to this exhibition, and that's just since October 23rd. It parallels and beats our last major exhibition for a similar period, which was Shakespeare Unauthorized almost 8 years ago. And some of the museums in Boston would be proud to see that number on a given day, on a given period for the total visit count, let alone to a single exhibition. So kudos to the team who put it together. And I just continue to invite everyone to try and drop by hours that the library is open. Incredible coverage again in the Globe, and Chronicle will be highlighting it on the 19th, which is tomorrow, so we should get an extra draw there.
My wife and I, if I can interrupt, just went to see it on Saturday afternoon after you and I spoke on Friday, I guess it was, and really is an incredible exhibition highlighting some of the really great treasures of our special collections, and the way it's presented is very moving. Yeah. So just from personal experience, I'll say it's a great exhibit.
Thank you, Joe. I also want to update you on our capital projects list, the active capital projects in particular, just to give a sense of where we are. The Fields Corner branch is well in construction. If you drive by, you will see framing up. It's going up very fast, actually, which is nice to see. On track for completion in fall of 2026 next year. Idleston Square has completed design for that branch, and we are just waiting on funds to be released from the city to have that bid out and then go into construction. The Chinatown branch, which is the first of these, that is a project with housing. That will be a new two-story branch. Construction has begun on the overall building, and once we are closer to completion there, we'll be able to project what the 18-month fit-out period would be. So the timeline for that is still a bit squishy. We would love to have as much of the branch completed as timeline with the overall building, but we're not sure that that's in fact possible. The South End branch is doing some design completion work right now, and hopefully will follow Eggleston Square out to bid and then into construction. Upham's Corner and West End are currently in design. Those are the two other housing with public assets projects, and just had a Article 80 review process community meeting with the West End last week, which was incredibly well attended, and some great feedback from the community there. We have three more like good repair projects that have been added and authorized by the city. These include tackling the roofs of the Central Library, both on the Boylston Street and McKim building sides. Additionally, the HVAC systems will experience a major upgrade. These are the systems that were not touched in the Boylston Street building during the 2015-2016 renovation. So we always knew that those would be, some of them date to the 1970s, would be in need of attention, and so that has been authorized to be scoped and go forward. And lest we leave out branches, the Brighton roof project will also be scoped and go forward as well. Those are the active capital projects right now, and that's almost $200 million in city capital funds committed to library projects over the next few years. And as you are about to ask me, or might ask me, this does not include the projects that are not yet fully active per se. So I think it's important to recognize that as we are here at West Roxbury, we do try and balance investment in the Central Library and branches, both with our city colleagues and in terms of priorities, obviously where possible driven by what is in most need. I want to also switch to the next slide and look at program highlights over the last while. Initially, two highlights from the Central Library. The completion of the Lowell Lecture Series this year was Ruth Carter, the Academy Award-winning designer. 275 people in person, 100 people attending virtual, pretty much a sold-out crowd. And then Ken Falk was the honoree for the Drucker Annual Award, or quasi-annual award for design and architecture. Again, pretty much a sold-out crowd. So we are happy that we're able to fill RAB with the right type of programming, and that there's a hunger for programming of all sorts. Moving to recognize the branches, those first two programs are the funding for these programs is coordinated by the Boston Public Library Fund, as is this new, now in its second year, Catalyst Branch Grant Program. And this year, Paul is in the audience, third year, it's not second year, sorry, my apologies. But this coming year, the third year, there are 41 individual programs that have been funded across all 25 branches, representing about a $76,000 investment, and highlighting locally here at West Roxbury, a puppet storytelling and crafts. So each of these programs are designed and nominated by the branch staff, sometimes in community with their friends groups, at other times based upon local programmers. And we heard in Sheila's opening about the age-strong librarian, Isabella, and her programming work here in West Roxbury, given the notable population that is aging in this particular neighborhood. we've also pulled together some samples that fit with our strategic plan and have organized them by the 4 strategic roles. So under Lifelong Learning and Research Partner, our cataloging work to deal with the founding research collection, the first collection that the Boston Public Library held for research purposes, not fully discoverable until this project, again funded by an anonymous donor through the fund to bring to life. The second project I'm highlighting in this category is a new children's musician in residence. And this is a person they're just selecting right now who will do mini concerts for the youngest of our patrons across all of the branches. This is funded through part of the Lego grant that you will recall that we got. That in turn will also follow the Hello Hatchlings work for our newly born and new families throughout the city of Boston. We will be expanding Browsborough Board, which is a statewide program to allow people who are perhaps waiting for transit or in other spots to access an electronic collection and keep their minds busy while they wait. Under the topic of community engager, one of the key initiatives here from the strategic plan is looking at civic engagement. And we are at this point doing definitional work in terms of what would the right way for BPL to spin up services that's response to this. And as we know, civic engagement is quite a spectrum of opportunity from being a polling place or engaging in voter registration at one end of the spectrum, all the way through what makes one fully able to be a resident and participate in their society. We are being assisted in this work by students from Simmons and also an opportunity for partnership with Brown University. The second set of roles that I wanted to highlight include the trusted resource category. 2 of our collections leaders, Melissa and Julie, are running through a training set on intellectual freedom, very relevant to today's challenges. And we have 75% of staff in the target category have been trained to date. All new staff will go through that as well. Trusted resource sometimes requires connectivity to the internet. And so we have a project to expand our Wi-Fi hotspot lending program as well. Then under Welcoming Destination, there are some pop-up programs we will be scoping and then bringing online for the McKim building in particular, test out some of our decrepit spaces, what might be possible in a fully renovated building. As well as putting all of our branch staff through a language and communications access protocols, multilingual facility, or the ability to interface with patrons who speak languages other than English, now being a critical part of our work.
David, could I interrupt for 1 minute?
You
can. Could you go back to the prior slide? The intellectual freedom, could you give a real quick snapshot of what the curriculum there is, what it covers?
I could not, but I will give you a very high-level snippet about what is included here. So, as you know, libraries both in Massachusetts and across the country have been experiencing challenges to particular books in the collection. A very high proportion of those relate to either books by or about LGBTQ or people of multiple races. And so this is really the training on how to deal with those challenges, as well as understanding that our duty is to serve everybody, and you don't actually have to follow a specific agenda, but what our stance is that you will, and our position on intellectual freedom is we're not going to let someone else prevent you from reading a particular book if that's what's appropriate for you and your family. So just the legal and policy issues around all of those in particular.
And who conducts the training?
So our head of collections and deputy head of collections are the 2 people leading this exercise.
Thank you.
I'm going to take this moment to recognize work that the Massachusetts Senate just did. Senator Rush and his colleagues voted last week to approve legislation on two fronts. One, most importantly, an omnibus bill that protects the right to read in Massachusetts and also specifically protects librarians and library workers from these challenges in the event that, that they are either harassed or experience highly inappropriate behavior, as has been happening across the state. The second bill was one that will set up a commission to look at ebook pricing. So both of those passed last week. I was really thrilled and honored to ask to participate in the Senate President's press conference on this topic. So,
Great work.
Thank you.
Great. So I'm on the organizational readiness category, just to round out this part of the presentation. Organizational readiness is the more of the internal programs in our strategic plan that get us ready for work. So a few small highlights here. We have advanced our fellowship program with Simmons University, which supports individuals pursuing their master's in library science. In partner, they basically serve as a type of intern or fellow during their first year of the program at BPL, and then migrate to a floater position in subsequent years. We believe this is a really great way to ensure that we are perhaps diversifying the field or having a pathway for individuals, some of which already work for the library perhaps and are not yet librarians and have chosen that that's what they want to do. It's not the only pathway, but it is one. And so this too is being underwritten by the Boston Public Library Fund. We also have revamped our brown bag lunch series for staff, leveraging opportunities to share expertise and particular topics of interest. And with respect to one of the very mundane but important aspects of the strategic plan, we are in the process of selecting a project management tool that we will then train everybody who either owns or is part of one of the strategic planning initiatives to be able to manage. And it will have reporting functionality, which will make my job with you in future meetings a little bit easier as well. The trauma-informed approach, that is a staff-led, staff and management-led, co-led committee to think about some of the difficult patron issues that our staff face every day, and how do we as a system take a more trauma-informed approach to both supporting staff but also dealing with the difficult situations that particular patrons are going through.
David, may I ask a question?
Yes.
I thought this was a very helpful update, and appreciate your segmenting these topics with the various parts of the plan. It'd be interesting to think about success stories that we could share more broadly with the public that would resonate. And just an example, as an example, I would have thought that things like the Browse Borrow Book Initiative and maybe Hello Hatchlings would be good candidates to get additional press coverage and impact from the plan. Have we maybe provided an update on how we're thinking about getting out the word and making sure that the community understands the work that we've done and how we're looking to implement this plan?
Yeah, I think a couple of responses on that. These are two things that are coming soon in some ways. The Hello Hatchlings is geared for a 2026 launch, and we will be building press and communications activity around that. The Browse Borrow Board is a very interesting example because the vendor we were working with has actually gone out of business, and so that is being migrated to a new platform before we launch that. But we're anticipating, because that is a statewide facing initiative as opposed to purely Boston, that we have some funding earmarked for that work in the Bridge to McKim work, because it is about raising our profile on a statewide basis. So yes, good project management requires that any project has a communications plan associated with it. So the deeper we get into this level of readiness, I think you will see more of that, both in terms of launch, but also then telling the stories of the successes once we have those baked.
Thank you.
And speaking of the Bridge to McKim project, which is the multi-million-dollar grant with respect to the anonymous foundation who is jump-starting our work planning for a renovation of McKim. Again, a simple Gantt chart to just illustrate where we are now, where we're heading into. Some of this you will see in contract form for contracts for approval, both today and at future meetings. Right now we are in strategic services plan, which is really the visioning stage of what we would do, who we would serve, and what we need in order to do that. I have a slide on that in a second. We'll be bringing on the project management capabilities hopefully in January, which will lead into updates to the actual master plan. We'll be hiring an institutional archivist to help us deal with the tremendous archives of work telling the history of the building. And then with Paula and Jeff and the Boston Public Library Fund, a series of steps and a couple of consultants that will get us ready for a formal capital campaign. So as you can see, this is mapped out across 25 and going into 2028. And then,
I'm sorry.
oops, yes.
Is this stage just the planning stage, essentially?
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, and even it's visioning as opposed to detailed planning that we will get into in the year ahead. A very complex building, a very complex set of challenges, and really an opportunity to rethink how we activate a 19th century building in a way that is responsive to the needs of today. Somewhat about our special and research collections, but not only about that. And then, so the visioning project is really that planning work, Cheryl, that you're just asking me about, really has 5 components to it. It is thinking through what is the visitor experience that you want to have and who do you serve. It is thinking about the operational requirements to activate those experiences and support them. The services that support that experience, i.e. the staffing models, the space that they happen in, and the specific needs of collections that may be associated with those activities. And so that is really a look at our visioning work.
Can I just ask one follow-up?
Yeah.
What is driving a 3-year calendar?
Some of these things you could not do in parallel because our visioning work around what we want to do as an institution, what is a modern library service experience in the building, that should drive the configuration and design of spaces. I think it's also true to say that some of the capital campaign, the funding to make this work, can't really start in true earnest until we're able to explain to people why this is important, what we're going to do, and what it will actually take from a budgetary point of view to renovate the space. So it's not just about renovating the space and restoring it to its perhaps former glory, but it is about how will it service the vision that we're baking right now. Yes, and then there's a mini timeline there. We will have many opportunities to drill deeper into that as a standalone topic at future meetings. Great. So I'm going to just pause at this point as we're about 3:45, 3:50, and pass it back to the chair.
All right, now I'm wearing my second hat, finance and audit. So Emily, please join us. All right. Do you want to start?
Sure. Earlier this summer in August, the library launched an RFP for the enterprise space within the central library. So it's currently occupied by the Newsfeed Cafe. The current lease expires in August of 2026. I think there's a slide. There we go. The current lease expires in August of 2026, so the new 5-year lease would begin at that same time. We had a committee of 6 BPL staff members as well as 3 trustee advisors that reviewed all of the material and conducted finalist interviews before determining a recommendation for the board. The recommendation is for Studio 700. So it's an evolution of the current Newsfeed Cafe model. It would feature a condensed cafe offering, incorporating workforce development programs from the BPL and established Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston, which the Catered Fair already operates. An expanded marketplace area featuring a variety of products featuring BPL and the local area, and then the GBH broadcast studio for live broadcasts, civic conversations, and creative programming as well. There would be some physical changes to the floor plan, both in furniture and the actual structure within the space. If you all have been to the cafe, the counter model is fixed there. It's extremely large. It's not conducive to flexibility within the space. So their plan is actually to remove that, install something that's a smaller footprint, allow for a larger footprint for gift shop offerings, so people can actually go and touch things without having to ask for cases to be opened up. The studio space itself would stay in that same corner. There might be some barrier changes that happen within it, but the furniture change is going to assist. Adding some additional upholstery furniture is going to help us with sound dampening. So it is one of the challenges of broadcasting within a public space. It gets a bit loud at times. So hoping that the furniture will help aid with that. The committee's recommendation is to award the next 5-year lease to Studio 700 pending successful contract negotiations. While this is a new evolution of the space, the concept remains largely the same. So the library would want to see some things addressed before moving forward for another 5-year lease. A few vision board photos that they shared in their proposal are what you're seeing there. The colors, furniture, nothing is actually set, just to give you an idea of what was included in the proposal.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Absolutely.
One is, how long is the contract with GBH?
So the actual lease itself is with the Catered Fair. So the Catered Fair, it was originally a 5-year lease with a 5-year option to renew, which we did. It was during COVID. I think it was 2020, the summer that we renewed it for an additional 5 years. The Catered Fair has a sublease with GBH. So that's where that comes into play.
So we're looking at 20 what?
It would be 2026, August of 2026 through 31.
Okay. And then how does this impact what they do on a regular basis as far as broadcasting?
We would want to touch on that in the contract to see, is there a certain amount of programming? We're certainly looking at partnerships between the library and GBH as well to be able to work with them on more programming. The proposal itself, I think you all have a copy. It has a portion on Mondays. They don't broadcast themselves, so they're actually looking to open up the studio for BPL to go and host book discussions or record podcasts for our own space. We haven't really gotten into the nitty-gritty with that yet, but that was one of their offerings within the proposal.
Yeah. So I'll add more to that. So I was part of the initial when we made a decision to make that a retail space. And one of the things that we had a concern as a library is it was a new concept and there was no real a service level agreement in terms of how much they would broadcast. And so that was always a concern at the time of contracting. They said, well, this is new, we'll increase the broadcast, but in 10 years it really hasn't happened. It has increased a bit, but not to the levels that we want. The other thing is there was always reservations to allowing the library to use the studio space for their own use. My observation from the conversations that we had during the interview, they have learned through these past 10 years, they have experience, they're open to the dialogue, to open the space. Of course, there will be a fee associated with that because you can just let anybody just use, all this technology. You need somebody who understands the technology, so there would be sort of like a subsidized fee that they would charge the library for the use of the studio. But I was pleased to hear that they were open to a lot of the ideas. And another feedback that we have provided them is, so as you can see, the retail space, it's larger than it is today. And, you know, we wanted to elevate the design and have like nice designs for the things we do get royalties out of the items that are sold. So I feel very positive after the interview that it would be, I think we would get to a good agreement. Again, once it comes to contracting, you know, the claws come out. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm very optimistic that there's a lot that has been learned on both parties, and that we will come to a good agreement on how this is going to work.
Thank you. I mean, I ask the questions only because, you know, being part of the NPR network and a sister station, being a BUR with GBH, knowing that what we're confronting these days as far as funding, corporation public broadcasting not existing, et cetera, I just want to make sure that we're at least in our thinking next whatever number of years, 4 or 5 years, that the conversations include how they will continue the commitment and or making sure that this is here and doesn't come here.
Yes.
Based on whatever impact they're receiving on the other end. Because we've seen how they've responded. And when I'm using the word they, meaning the sister station has responded to the challenges, right, where things have been cut out that had been there for years. So not as a criticism, but just as an observation that, at least from our perspective, that always be part of being transparent, on board, on the table, so that we're not shocked and surprised. That's the moment in time of some change.
Yeah, I think those are great points, Jose, and very helpful clarifications, Evelyn. I would have thought that this is a real opportunity for the library, and that, to Jose's point, we should just think about, in the context of these contractual negotiations, how to make sure that the space is being used well and that we're getting the best possible use out of the studio that we can. I would have thought that it is a premier place in the city, and we could have high-profile podcasts and things that people are very excited to hear. I don't really get the sense that all the GBH broadcasting is, it seems to me like GBH is not using the space as much as they could, and the broadcasting that's happening isn't necessarily cutting-edge broadcasting that's sparking the popular imagination.
And they were open to that.
I was just gonna add, I assume you're driving us to the vote.
Yes.
And to these points that have been made, I mean, I feel that the Board of Trustees should, I think personally that the vote shouldn't just say contingent on a successful negotiation. I mean, successful could mean that, you know, the dollars are appropriate. I think that we should, because I think we all have a concern that the space isn't necessarily being used in ways it might, particularly given the times we're living in, to sort of serve the public's interest. I think we should insist, as much as negotiations will allow, that there be some goals in the negotiation that are spelled out in more detail in terms of our vote than what is currently in the vote.
We've learned a lot in the last 10 years, to be quite frank. So one of the pieces that we're interested in incorporating in the contract, and I think the committee came up with like a dozen that we're starting with that we want to have incorporated. One of them is the amount of activation. And activation does not necessarily mean it's broadcast on the radio. Activation means they are doing something within the space that's engaging with the patrons of the library. So we're talking about whether that is a percentage of the time that the library is open, if it's a certain number of hours per week, but that's what we'll be driving with when we.
So Emily, I have a question because, you know, part of this RFP process, you know, you have a couple of trustees, you know, Portia, Gerald, and myself. How do you envision leveraging these trustees as you go into contract negotiations? Could we be a sounding board? Could we, you know, if you get into, I will be frank and this is open public, contracting the first time was tough. So I hope I don't envision that this time around, but how can be of use?
No, thank you very much. It is a new group of people on all sides that will be involved in the contracting this time, from the library and from GBH, TCA not so much. But what we're doing right now is drafting the initial, what we're about to do right now is draft the initial contract with all of the key points that we want incorporated. So I think what we would like to do is host the initial meeting, see what the feedback is, and then perhaps make a couple phone calls and, see what your suggestions are based on that feedback.
So just a question of order or procedure. The vote that I see that we're going to be asked to approve today essentially asks us to approve this in advance contingent on successful contract negotiations. Is it possible to hold that vote until we see more about what is actually in the contract? Or is that an inappropriate use of our authority?
So what we're really seeking here is approval of the selection, that this is the preferred choice of the library to move forward. The matters of actual contract negotiation are really the purview of our legal affairs and contracts team, but we have gotten the input that will drive that. So it's actually saying, like approving them as the selected vendor allows us to go into contract negotiation. We can't actually go into fully contract negotiation without that.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
I was just going to say, I don't agree with you, and no one is more sensitive to the prerogatives of management versus the governance of a board than me, since I sit in your role every day. But I do think that we are raising goals. The board is, and maybe the majority of the board doesn't agree with this. We are raising goals potentially for this contract a little broader than you might typically find in a regular contract, because it's not just about the money. We are suggesting that the library is a public space, and so I maybe others feel differently. You are asking us to approve the actual contract, and the actual contract is going to establish the terms and the goals for the use of the space. And I don't think we should be asked to do that with a complete lack of knowledge and understanding about what the provisions of that contract might include.
I think the proposal itself, which you all, whether everyone's read it or not, I think everyone has access to it now. The proposal itself, the RFP included a lot of language and desire around the current strategic plan. The proposal itself talks about the engagement with the BPL workforce group. It talks about the engagement with the Boys and Girls Club coming in and doing trainings and, safe serve classes within the space. It talks about the cookie decorating. So it's not just the GBH component, and we absolutely already have flagged the amount of activation that we'd like to see from them. There's a lot of other elements involved with engaging the library patrons and the public than just the studio space.
Yeah, and I don't want to be a sticky wicket either, but I think Cheryl raises a valid point. One could imagine reimagining the space, right, and having it be more like the 92nd Street Y in New York, and having it be a premier venue for talks and live events in Boston, right? I mean, that would be interesting to talk about at a board, and that seems like an important strategic.
We didn't get those proposals, however. So we did engage with the public trying to get additional proposals in for the space, and we didn't receive that sort of offer. So we're working with what we have and trying to shape it the best way we can moving forward.
So just to take a step back for 1 second. So, I mean, it could be that one of the reasons why we didn't get additional proposals is because people, very often, an incumbent, there's a sense that an incumbent is going to be preferred.
Sure.
So that's often the reason why when the incumbent is applying again, it will tend to make others back off.
Sure.
Put a lot of effort into a proposal, number one. Number two, just so we're clear, we're basically back to, we're contracting directly with the catered affair, and they're contracting with GBH.
There would be a sublease
Yes.
with GBH.
And we did that initially, probably because we had so little knowledge and experience ourselves. We were more comfortable with this approach, right?
The catered affair has always been the main leaseholder based on the relationship that they created with GBH. So
Okay,
we
all
did
right,
not
okay.
require
But
that.
have we seen and at this point, though, the catered affair, does not have a contract in place with GBH, right, or?
They have the current
Yes,
for
when-
Newsfeed Cafe,
I'm sorry if I missed this, when does that expire?
August of 2026.
Okay, so same, if they, okay, makes sense. Okay, but we have no idea at this point what the catered affair is going to negotiate with GBH for the use of our space.
The negotiation, we actually do have the sublease, so we have to agree, we have to sign something allowing them to sublease the space with the catered affair and GBH, so that's all part of the
And
legal.
GBH didn't have an option. Or they're not operating under an option in terms of the renewal. They have to renegotiate the lease.
The current lease has to end, so
Okay,
we're not
all
able
right.
to extend beyond
Okay,
10 years.
But I mean, we're delegating a lot to the catered affair. But let me cut to the chase. I would like to propose a modification of this language that basically says we approve the negotiation of a contract with the catered affair for a term of 5 years. So it's the negotiation, and then ask your team to come back to us with the highlights of the final contract. So you all are negotiating the contract, you've gotten feedback from us of what's important. But again, given everything that's at stake, and it's a programming use of our space, that's what's so important. It is literally on the first floor of the Boston Public Library. I live in the Back Bay, I walk by there every single day practically. It's highly visible, and it brands us in a certain way. And I think we should be concerned, in a positive way, about the use of the BPL, the central library on the first floor. So I think that we should have the opportunity as trustees to weigh in a little bit more on what the goals might look like.
And that's kind of what I was getting to with my question about where we are procedurally sort of on this, which is, we're not approving a contract that we haven't seen. We're really saying, go ahead and enter into the contract negotiations with the first place finalist, the catered affair. But is it appropriate for a contract to come back to us for approval?
I think we can share the highlights of the contract, so if there's specific questions that people have or components they'd like to see how it's incorporated. We also have our legal advisors and our team from the library who we've been working this contract for the past 10 years, so we have ideas, we understand as well changes that we'd like to see and what's going to be important to the people using the space. To review the whole thing is probably 100 pages.
I have some thoughts, but I'll let Jim.
I was just going to say, this is separate from the particular issues here and more of a governance question, which is, it seems to me, hearing the conversation, that there are two alternatives here. One is to basically say, we are not prepared to approve this contract because there are a number of questions that a number of us have, and we want to have answers to those questions before we approve the contract. I don't know whether that's possible or not, but that's option number one. Option two would be to modify this to essentially delegate authority if we can, and maybe we can't do this, whether the trustees could delegate authority to some subset of the trustees to enter into these negotiations on our behalf and have the authority to approve the contract if it satisfies those concerns. So I only raise that, again, not getting into the details here, because I think we're trying to it seems to me that what Cheryl's proposing about approving the negotiation of a contract, it seems that that's what we're already doing, that's what we're already in. So we didn't even approve that, and we're negotiating already. So I'm not sure that there's an action to take there. But the question is, I don't sense that we're ready to approve the contract. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And so the question is, what are some alternatives that we have?
So, thank you for leading me into this. So, here's what I propose. I would treat this contract like we treat any other contract where we spend money, right? In this case, it's kind of reverse, where they're giving us money. What I would suggest is change the vote to what we're saying here is like, we approve the library to move on to the next stage. So we approve the vendor from the RFP, and we approve for you to enter contract negotiations, period.
Yep.
That's the vote. The way that I would address the second part is I would address it the same way we do with any contract. So we're not asking to micromanage the library and to go through every piece and part of the contract. We never do that, right? So what I'm going to suggest is that, and I would suggest that it gets delegated to finance and audit, if that's okay. And everybody's welcome, you know, if you have an interest in this, you're more than welcome to join. And then to delegate it to Finance and Audit to review the Ts and Cs, you know, material was, you know, what, you know, when you're ready, because this is going to take some time, right? This is not going to, when is it, if you think about the timeline, when do you see this getting signed?
That's the tricky part that I'm trying to logistically think through here. So to be quite frank, it's not drafted yet. We didn't have the approval to move forward with the Studio 700 concept. The negotiations will take months.
Correct.
So if that gets delayed because of another component, there's potential that this doesn't open in August. I just want to put that out there.
Right, so, but that's the reason, right?
Yeah.
So we always say that, especially during the summer months when the trustees don't meet, so this may sign in the summertime. So we always have we may or may not, right? But that's what I'm saying. It is easier to bring together finance and audit because we're always at the ready versus bringing the entire trustees. So that's why I'm suggesting, and I'm looking for trustee input on this. And, you know, would you be willing to delegate, you know, entering into the final contract, you know, to the finance and audit? Or do you want all to see it?
Well, I just want to make, I'm going to think for a moment about that. I do want to make the point. I don't think this particular contract is just a finance and audit issue. I think
Agreed.
we need to acknowledge that this particular contract has significant, like, branding and marketing implications for the Boston Public Library in a couple of different ways, in terms of the geography that it's on the first floor, in terms of our collaboration indirectly with GBH. I don't think this is a typical, we don't often have these we approve a lot of contracts and we don't often have these conversations. I don't think in my years on this board I've ever felt as strongly as I do on this one about the need for the trustees to ensure that this particular contract really represents our goals.
Okay, so let me ask the question differently. So finance and audit, it's no. So would it be, no, it's okay. No, Cheryl, trust me, it's okay. So are you suggesting full board, or can we do the executive committee?
Well, the interesting thing about the executive committee is it probably has representation
Of all, from different components, yes.
of the board. And
Yes.
my opinion is that might be more appropriate, but I don't know how others feel.
That's,
If I could just put in, I have Julie on the virtual who'd like to comment as well.
oh, yes, please.
Go right ahead, Julie.
Julie?
Julie Kim, is the mic open?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I was just going to say it feels like there are two separate issues here. One is, what is the purpose of this space? What do we want the purpose of this space to be? And I think that's what I'm hearing, at least multiple voices saying we want an opportunity to discuss as a board. And I think the technical aspects of dealing with the contract, once we've aligned on the purpose, I think that there would be comfort delegating that to the Finance and Audit Committee. But that's my takeaway from listening to the conversation.
Right, that's correct. But then the second part to that is there's also a recommendation that instead of delegating to finance and audit, that it would be a better idea to delegate to the executive committee because they are a representation of the various groups and various committees. So you would have a broader opinion rather than the finance and audit. And I'm okay with either. I just would like to get input. I'm concerned because we don't know the timing. I'll be frank about this. We are a large board. So my concern is bringing the large board together, and especially if this hits on the summer months, that's even a tougher. So I don't want to hold the library hostage because you can't bring this whole group together. That's my biggest concern. So that's why I'm suggesting a smaller group, which is the executive committee.
Seems like a good discussion.
I think that works. I mean, it's just the trustees would be delegating authority to the executive committee to approve a contract contingent on successful negotiations. And then they would be engaged in the details.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe not every word, but the point
Right.
is kind of the high level terms and conditions.
I don't want to pull this out any longer. I just want to clarify, we're not able to change the proposal. So if there are questions or concerns with the actual content of the proposal, we only have so much wiggle room.
That's fine, Emily. You need to establish the constraints. You know, when you present back to the board, you need to say, here's your constraints. You know, this is
100%.
what it is. And that's fine.
I mean, I do think this actually strengthens the hand of library administration in entering the negotiations by saying
Yeah.
that this
This
is
is pending trustee approval.
well, yes, and also that the trustees expressed specific interest in ensuring that this 5-year agreement meets the programmatic goals of this opportunity, which was always, if you go back 15, 11 years now, was always about programmatic alignment and activation of space for the geographic reasons that you're talking about. So in some ways, making this a very contingent, an explicit contingent approval actually strengthens the hand for negotiation.
And I wouldn't sell short the ability to leverage that in the contract discussion.
Yeah.
I am there, Cheryl.
I guess my question, coming back to my original question, Emily, is we're negotiating with the catered affair. Is GBH in the room? I mean,
They're
how
at
do
the
we
table.
leverage all of this?
They're
Because
at the
we don't
table.
really have a direct contractual relationship with GBH.
But they're at the table.
They're
They're at the table, so if we have specific, not demands, but ideas programmatically that GBH, who is not directly contracting with us,
Sure.
has to implement, how does that get, how
First,
does that
so
play
there's a
out?
couple different ways, and we're not quite sure how this is going to play out for this next lease, but the one that's currently in existence, there's actually 4 legal documents attached to it. One of them is a consent to sublease between the catered affair and GBH that we had to acknowledge and agree to. The other is actually an operating standards directly between GBH and the library.
Okay, great.
They required it. There's a whole lot of language within it. What we're thinking for this next time is for the lease itself to actually have the requirements for the whole space.
Okay,
So
great.
the cafe and the studio
Perfect.
space, all in
Okay.
one document, is what we're thinking.
Okay,
as well.
that's great, okay.
All right, so I'm gonna take 2 votes for a minute. So we're gonna break this up in 2 votes. So Pamela, hold me honest here. So the first vote is that the trustees approve the Boston Public Library to enter into contract negotiations with the caterer affair for a term of 5 years. End of story. That's one vote.
Width,
With.
it's the width.
It's the width.
It's the
Yeah.
visit width.
It's a with it, yes.
That's what you want from us. is to
Yes.
vote.
We're
Yes,
gonna leave
yes.
it up to August 26th. It's the same vote. It's not to approve, it's to enter into contract negotiations with caterer affair. Yes? Okay, so that's one vote. And then, so I'm gonna take that vote first, and then I'll make up the next one. So,
What's the next one?
so the next one's gonna be that the approval of the contract will be delegated to the executive committee. That's the second vote.
With the idea that the executive committee is participating in the conversations with Catered Affair and GBH?
No, we're not gonna enter in conversations.
So-
That's legal.
Got it.
Legal in the
Okay.
library.
Gotcha.
But once they do all the negotiations, we will leverage this committee to approve the final contract.
Got it. And going with Joe, where do we embed not our demands, but our requests and expectations? Where does that come in? It's through you?
I would send, if anyone has, particularly even after this meeting, send it all to Pamela. She will send it to me. We will add it to our list. We are really we are ready to go into this contract negotiation and make it work for the library.
And just, I guess, one question as a deal lawyer, I mean, you sort of lose all leverage once you agree on a party. Are we obligated to use the catered affair in this sense, or do we have the ability to use other
If you're gonna do somebody else, you need to, right now, we cannot take that vote. And then we would have to reissue an RFP.
I think it's somebody else.
You have to reissue the RFP.
And GBH is not prepared to provide a proposal for the entire retail space as it stands.
And we asked them that.
They will not
Yeah,
engage in the 40.
That's not what they do.
I'm fine proceeding, but I think if you really wanted to, I mean, the right order of operations, I think, would have been, to Julie's point, for the board to set its goals and then to have an open process and try to play off parties against each other and then move forward. But if the caterer fair is the only viable caterer and we just have to work with them and we have to do our best to get to achieve our objectives, then I guess it is what it is.
The
Seems to me
RFP,
like that's kind of where we're at.
We are there is a constrictions based on what the RFP says.
Okay.
So you need to stay with it. I mean, you cannot create other things that were not there because that's not what they bid for.
Yep.
and the RFP was not for cafe space. It was for asking for a space that hit a number of different components the library was trying to achieve. We were, we were searching for the next creative thing that would activate the space and engage with the patrons. This is the best option moving forward. So it didn't have to be the catered fair. It could have been a computer lab. I don't know, but it didn't happen.
And we're also constrained by time. I mean, we've got a lease that's expiring. I guess we could extend it, but we're kind
No,
of,
we cannot extend it further.
we can't. So, yeah, so we're
Drop dead
constrained by
items.
time.
It needs to happen. All right, so
repeat.
I have the two votes on the table.
Repeat again, please.
Hey, I just made those up. You want me to remember
No,
those?
no.
So, all right.
I'll look at Pamela.
Oh, you wrote them. There you go.
The direction of the public library, the city of Boston approved the Boston Public Library to enter into contract negotiations with the Catered Fair for a 5-year contract.
Is it a
Beginning
contract?
August
Is it-
26th.
Is it a lease or a contract?
It's a lease.
It's a
What
lease.
did you just say? What was the?
Beginning August 2026. Yeah.
And then the other would be the trustees, blah, 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 approve delegating the approval of the, I don't know whether to say final contract or negotiated contract, whatever that.
I would say
you want to
negotiated
put in,
contract, yeah.
With the Catered Fair to the executive committee.
Yes. Okay,
It's fine, because
Everybody okay?
the approval is going to be.
Yes.
We wanna approve it.
we have consensus. Is that right? Okay, so can I take a vote as a slate? Julie, questions?
No, I
Oh,
support
Neptune?
I support your two new votes.
Votes? Excellent. Navjeet, questions?
Nope, same. Just wanted to, I was getting ready to say I do, or I agree.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You always have such a great insight. Thank you. All right, so we take a vote. I can take them like a slate, right?
We need a motion, don't you?
I need a motion, please.
A vote like this, I don't need to take roll because I have two that are.
That's fine. Okay, so can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Arana,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Berman,
Yes.
Canales.
Yes.
Cronin,
Yes,
Hawkins,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes,
Masso,
Yes.
Rush,
Yes.
and Westra.
Yes.
So moved.
Excellent. Love the discussion, by the way. Love the discussion. So thank you so much.
you.
Thank you. All right. Now, delegation of approval, McKim, project manager. Go.
This is one of the Bridge to McKim, a component of the Bridge to McKim grant. We are looking to award the contract to the owner's project manual, that is not what it says. Owner's project manager. This is all funded by the Bridge to McKim grant. We need a little bit more time to negotiate with the vendor that we're looking to move forward with, so we're asking to delegate it to the Finance and Audit Committee.
Any questions around that? You saw the plan, kind of know what's going on. One of the things, just so you all know, because we discussed this at the Finance and Audit, one of the things I did mention, and I'll say it here again, I made an ask. I think we're using Accenture. We don't know.
That yet.
Okay, we don't know. So we don't know. So, but any of these consulting firms, sorry, Jeff, any of these consulting firms, I said, make sure that they get bios. That make sure that they get bios from the personnel that would work in the project, because how you negotiate the contract may give you different access to different people. You may not be happy. So I said, never be shy to ask for bios of the people who are going to be working in the project, and make sure that you interview them and you do the due diligence before.
I'm happy to report, since getting that guidance, we do have the bios for the firm in question.
Yes.
And the allocation to the project as proposed.
Excellent, excellency, excellent.
Thank you, John Eschel.
All right. Motion, please. Second? Questions? Questions? None? All right, so delegated. Take a vote, sorry, roll call.
Arana?
Yes?
Bob?
Yes.
Berman?
Yes.
Canales?
Yes.
Cronin?
Yes.
Hawkins?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Musso?
Yes.
Rush?
Yes.
Westra?
Yes.
So moved.
Excellent. All right, thank you so much. Motion passes. The last one that we have here before we go into new business and public comment. Do you want me to get started?
Sure.
I'll get started. So I know that Pamela sent, I'm just going to give you a break. So one of the documents that Pamela sent around was the document the special collections put together for this auction, that they wanted these articles. And I'm going to encourage you all that if you haven't read it, to please read it. It's an incredible, great document. It has a lot of history in it, and I'm a history buff. So what happened was these auctions happen, and they come up and they look at the items that may be up for bid. And they may be items that the library may be interested in, and you're putting a bid on an auction. And so they were trying to figure out a way of getting approval of a particular amount for a particular item. And, instead of bringing it to a full committee, how can they do this in a way that was efficient, instead of bringing committees together to get approval for this. So this is a process that Ray and I, in discussion with Emily and David and Special Collections, came up with. We put it into effect for this particular collection that you have in your inbox. They did not get the item. It sold for a lot more than what they wanted it for, but it was a good I want to say test on the process, and we wanted to put it forth to the trustees for feedback, and just to let you know about this new process that we have. Ray and I have agreed. To me, what was important is to have two people in this process, not just one, because I just did not want to create this. I don't know. I didn't want to have a process that kind of bypasses and just approve things for the sake of approving things. And so just, Emily, can you just walk through the process and what it is?
Absolutely. So currently, just as a refresher, the Finance and Audit Committee is engaged for any purchases between $50,000 and $200,000, and then we come to the full board for anything over $200,000. So Beth and her team in Special Collections have a really great assessment matrix that they've created that goes along with the collection development policy. So when they see an item in an auction catalog, which honestly we usually have about 3 or 4 weeks to respond to those auctions, which is why the Finance and Audit Committee schedule doesn't always work for those needs. They have a rubric that they use, what I believe you all have the example of that from the Italian piece that we were trying to purchase. They grade it. They have the bidding range that they're looking for just based on the rarity, the condition of the item. The one that we were looking for, I think, hadn't been sold for 80 years, so that's a component to the value of it as well. And I think some photos, some other pieces, but we would send that to Evelyn. It would go to Ray for anything over $100,000 as well. And if approved, we would have the ability to go to auction for it. Like she said, we didn't get it this last time. We really wanted it. It was a private collector that ended up taking the whole, block? The whole
Lot.
There we go. They got the whole lot. And at this point, we're still saying anything over $200,000 would still come to the full board. So this does have some barriers around it.
Does that make sense? Questions? No question? All right.
Great idea.
So I don't see a vote written
We did it at Finance and Audit.
because we did it at Finance and Audit. Oh, so is the approval process. Sorry. All right. We don't need a vote. We're just saying audit, Finance and Audit approved it in,
Anything over 200,000 will still be coming
Right.
to the board.
all right.
Good going.
So any new business? No new business? No? All right. Public comment?
There is no one signed up online, correct? And we have no one in the room that signed up.
Okay, good. All right. With that, we adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Go on.
Thank you.
That's because I was chairing.
Good job, Evelyn.
Investigate.
No,
Thank you.